I want to show you what happens when guys prioritize having girls involved in their hobbies. This is what I call furry cosplay. This is the fifth edition artwork of D&D. And what you see here is a furry cosplayer. This is not a lizard man. This is a man in a lizard costume. When women get involved, they're not really interested in D&D, they make a mockery of it. And how I'm going to prove it. I want to show you something. Women are into what? Romance novels. This is their thing. Now, I typed in classic covers. See the classic covers? See how they aren't ridiculous looking? Then I typed in modern covers, and it's very similar. So, so the difference between the 1960s covers and the 2020s covers is basically unchanged. Why? Because women would not allow guys to ruin their hobbies. The women don't even want the guys there. When they're reading these books, they don't want their man knowing what they're reading, right? But because guys are losers and they value and prioritize having women over their hobbies get wrecked. Now I'm talking to old farts like you, Tanker's Tavern, and Daddy Rolled a One. Now look at the old cool artwork up there. See that dwarf? How he's not decked out like a Christmas tree. His physique is muscular, but within limits. And look at the pose he's got on here. Like he's ready to break into action. This is what guys got first and second edition. And by the way, Daddy Rolled a One. That's why you have your channel devoted to this history, because it's the only thing that was actually cool about the game. It actually started falling apart third edition, right? Now let me show you something else. This is something that the romance novels lack, right? Once the women got in there with their male allies, right, they started wanting to dominate the game. X card. An X card is a physical or digital card with a large X. It's the most widely recognized tool for halting uncomfortable play in D&D. So women read their romance novels with all their rape fantasies. See, no one's stopping that. But by golly, if you try and include it into a male hobby, they're quick to stop it. Do you hear that, old dudes? This is a dominance play. These people who aren't interested in the game at all come to botch it up. When a player or GM touches, taps, or holds up the card, it signals immediate stop to the current scene or topic without requiring any explanation. They don't even have to explain themselves, which means these people, being the liars that they are, may not be interested. That is, they may not be triggered at all. Do you just say, hey, I feel like messing up this game, so it's time to show the guy who's in charge. Remember, hey, all you old schoolers would say the dungeon master is in charge. And there was always these fights between the dungeon master and the players, but the players had to suck it up, right? But not when the girls show up. When the girls show up, they can halt your play whenever they feel like it. And all you old wimps took it. Anyway, let's listen to a bit of Daddy Roll a One, right? Let's see. This is old school play.
Situation where there's going to be rules for gaining character levels requiring you to train and spend money and time to do that. Okay, so then crafting takes time. So this isn't really necessarily a character skill, but it's telling you if you have different hirelings or henchmen that are specialists in certain areas like armor, and then it tells you how long it takes to create these suits of armor.
Yeah, like I was very fortunate, guys, to be the age I am. This is what I got. All these cool, like knowledgeable, like I had no idea as a kid of what armor cost. I mean, of course, they're making it up the cost, but Gary Gygax, he knew history. These guys were interested in weaponry and armor and horses. You know, they knew how much things would cost. They knew which armor was better. And they made all these tables. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes I think they went off the deep end with all the tables they made. But we got detail. And that's what disappears in the later editions once the ladies get involved. They're not interested in this geeky, nerdy stuff. Hear that, Daddy? Roll a one? Women think you're a nerd. And they don't, they find this shit boring. That's why once they got involved, once TSR took over and had their feminist overlords placed in, all this coolness got wiped aside.
Based on what kind of armor it is. So banded male's 30 days, and you can see here chain male's 45 days, plate male's 90 days. That's for the folks who are listening and not watching. So there's details on here and that's just one example. That's armor, but like all of these different things, the assumption is that like crafting, blacksmithing, weaponsmithing,
Right.
all that kind of stuff takes time.
That's right. It takes time. And you know something? It was work, but it was fun work for guys. It's just work for the girls. That's why once they got in there, they got rid of it.
Okay. Travel, of course, takes time. And it's going to detail this in here, and it's going to give us an example like returning to player A and his trip to visit a far off source of supernatural lore. He and his elven companions set off on day 51, journeying across the land for 11
Yeah,
days.
yeah, yeah. I won't go too far into it. You guys can go to Daddy Rolled in One. I like his stuff. It's good stuff. Go watch his content if you're interested in Dungeons and Dragons. But the point is what he's pointing out is that this is interesting stuff to guys. It's boring to girls and women. That's why they got rid of it. Hey, this Daddy Rolled in One. He has a daughter and he took her under his wing and she's played. Her and her girlfriends played. But the only reason they enjoyed it, Dad, is because you were there to get involved and they're only kids. Daddy rolled a one. Is that not true? Did your daughter not start when she was prepubescent? In other words, she was fully human. Both guys and girls were fully human when we're children. And then puberty destroys our brains, right? When your little girl started this game, I bet she didn't care what car you drove, dude. But I guarantee you now, you say she's a teenager, she does. Anyway, I want to show you a couple other things like, let's see. Uh, the game was kind of devolving even before then, but it really jumped, in the later editions, right? Because take a look at this. I don't know if you guys can see it, but the races used to be very unique. You really were being an other creature, right? Like elves originally, they didn't become wizards. They were just naturally magical. It's when they got advanced Dungeons and Dragons that they downgraded them. But look at the age bracket. This is the standard elf. An old elf might be able to reach 1,200 years old, right? Now let's see, look at this picture here at 108. Yeah, 108 around here. You see here now, it's very tiny, but the elf's age will be roughly 500, 550. They're lowering the age. Why are they doing that? Because they're draining these non-human races of their non-humanness. They're humanizing them, right? They're making them less and less special in order to fit in the game rules. And eventually you got this. Like, guys, why do people love cats and dogs? Because they're not human. People look at a cat's eyes and think, I can see the alienness of that. People love cats. They don't love a guy in a cat costume, which is exactly what the Dungeons and Dragons has become. Because women love cosplay. This is what they did. They don't want to be fighting a dragon. See, this is a perfect example. They don't want to be fighting a dragon and doing cool stuff. She's going to a party in a costume, right? This is how embarrassing it is. And here's something that really pisses me off too. Putting black characters in European costumes, right? Before they would at least give them this sense of either African or Middle East, and it looks so appropriate. But they love doing it, and they put glasses on them. So is this supposed to be the Middle Ages? And this is what I'm talking about. See this dude, old dude. You talk about how cool the old games were. What do you think of this? What do you think about glasses on someone who is in the Middle Ages and wearing like clothes that could only be made in the modern era? These anachronisms. And of course, there's more furry cosplay. That's not an owl. That's a person in an owl costume. But anyway, let's get to Tankard here. That I was wondering why I couldn't find the number of subs he had. This isn't just his channel alone. This is a collaboration. He has his own separate channel. But let's hear what he has to say. Sorry about that, guys. Bring it back up.
Here's the uncomfortable truth. When D&D stopped being a game about exploration, we didn't just lose tracking, torch burning time, and graph paper. We lost the pressure that made choices matter.
Yeah, again, guys, I loved it when I was a kid and I first picked up. I'm so lucky to be old now because back then I joined the game when it was worth something, right? Choices mattered. There's more than just kick in the door and fight the monster. You had to worry about how much time you were down there, how much air might be in the cavern that you're breathing. How long will your torches last before they go out and you're in total darkness? How long will the water last that you brought with you? Can you carry enough gear down in there to last you? All these things mattered. It was fantastic.
Because exploration isn't walking around until the DM gives you a fight. Exploration is a rules engine. It is time, light, noise, distance, risk,
Right.
retreats, rations,
Yes.
and the question that powers everything. Do we push deeper or do we get out while we still can? And once that question goes away, the game turns into something else.
Something less. This is the weasel words of these guys. Look, dude, you're complaining. You're saying that it was better back then, and you're allowed to do that. But here you're trying not to. You can't have it both ways.
Sequence of
You shouldn't have brought your girlfriend in.
scenes, balanced encounters, ability checks, doing the heavy lifting that procedures used to do. So let's talk about what we lost and how to get it back without turning a session into RPG Accounting 101.
You want to get it back? Come on, dude. Get a grip. Get a grip. You want that game back, you'd have to go TSR and kick all the feminists out that took over. Again, look at the difference. Look at the difference between this art and this art. Again, if I haven't shown this, there's no difference. This is what the girls like. And their art is not different whatsoever. They didn't have a bunch of guys come into their romance novels, take it over, and ridicule it. The difference between the classic covers and the modern ones is the same, and so is the stories. The stories never changed. The same old boring stories women read about romance hasn't changed in the last 60 years, right? But it sure does for you losers. Now, here's more cowardice from this guy.
Avoiding unnecessary fights, and you start optimizing for spending your abilities efficiently,
Okay.
uh, pushing on to the next rest. So everything resets. Again, not automatically bad.
Not automatically bad. Dude, your whole video is complaining about this. I actually agree with you. It sucks. You're too cowardly to take a stance.
But it's a different engine. It's a different play style.
Yeah, it's just a different engine. It's just a different play style. Hey, dude, this is just a different play style. There's nothing pathetic or ridiculous about this whatsoever. Okay, but where are you again? Do continue with your groveling.
When we lost emergent problem solving, we replaced it with a single role interaction.
So what? You say there's nothing wrong with that. So what are you complaining about?
And this to me is the one that hurts.
It hurts. How can it hurt when it's just a different game engine? Dude, grab your cojones or something. You're like, take a stance.
Probably the most. Because exploration play makes players solve problems. How do they do that? Questions, tools, cautious.
Yeah, this is all stuff that's guys find cool, and your girlfriends don't. That's why it died. But how do we bring it back? But why bring it back when there's nothing wrong with the play? It's just a different engine, everyone. But let me talk about how to bring it back by not giving you any solutions. More cowardice right here.
End up with tables that feel like either we win the encounter or we didn't really play. So then why did this all shift? And I'm not going to get into a big edition war here. I'm sure some would love it.
Really? So you're saying that the game was so much cooler in the past, in the first edition, maybe even the second, and but you're not going to like bash the fifth edition, which has them mocking you and everything you love about the game. 10 card, are pathetic and cowardly. You can't talk about this issue without bringing up the additions. You're slamming additions by saying the first edition was the better one. That's pathetic. Anyway, I'm going to end off saying this is why the game was ruined. Because you guys wanted your damn girlfriends playing with you. And your girlfriends hate your game. And again, that's why the stuff they love hasn't changed one iota in the last 60 years. And yours went from cool stuff like this to this embarrassment. We'll leave it at this.